So what choice means to me as a young woman? Choice means decision making. If there is a choice, I'll be able to make a sound decision on what I want. Because if there is no choice, meaning I will not have any other option but to go with what is available. And sometimes going with what is available, there is no continuity, there is no sustainability. So meaning if there is no choice, I will not continue with anything or with any product. So when you talk about HIV prevention, we have seen a lot of prevention measures that are being brought on board. We have the ring, we have LAN, we have CAPLA, we have oral PrEP, we have condoms and so many others. But if they're there but there is no room for me to choose, then meaning I will not be able to access it. And also with choice comes with having a product. Yes, is it available for me as a young person to access it? Is it available for the entire community to make sure that they make a decision on accessing them?
Choice for me really means a lot of what you've summed up. Availability, affordability, accessibility, but acceptability as well. So as a start, I can say choice means the service delivery models that we need to use have to align with the beneficiaries that we are intending to reach. We have seen how differentiated service delivery models actually can introduce choice and convenience. And these models are tried and tested, particularly when they are community and peer-led. But we've also seen how the choice of service delivery models can be a barrier to access. I sat in a session with young people yesterday, and we were talking about the potential of utilizing faith-based institutions. And they asked, is that where you think we go? So whatever population we are trying to reach, we really have to be practical about what works for them. Choice also means that when we accommodate recent advances, like we're talking a lot about long-acting injectables for HIV prevention, but we need to be thinking about what works in a randomized controlled trial might not work in terms of lived realities and where people actually live in a real world setting. What also works in an urban setting might not work in a rural setting where there is one nurse with minimal supervision. So choice cannot ignore the lived realities of our people, because choice will then fail, and that will be an indictment on us. Choice also means sustainability, and for me, sustainability has to be prioritized in light of the financial landscape that we find ourselves in. And this means we do need to invest with domestic funding in sustainable, high-impact prevention options that offer choice, but we also need to be smart and very ruthless about our prioritization.
For me, as someone who sits with the community, one of the biggest concerns has been, are we not going to roll back to a situation whereby we are prioritizing one or two products? Who is making decisions around choice at country level? When we sit in the boardrooms, in our airport rooms, who is making these decisions? So from a community perspective, these are some of the concerns that we kind of worry about and think about. Because for me now, if you ask me what choice means, I work with young women every day, and for me, choice means agency. Ability for a young woman who is 18 years old, perhaps live in a very religious community, but being able to walk into a space and access services. For me, choice means the dignity for a woman who might be facing abuse in a home, who might be failing to use oral daily PrEP because of fear of their partner, but being able to say there is an option for me to walk into a facility and access service. For me, choice actually means dignity. So for me, when I think about choice, it's not just about options, it's not just about the products. It's really about what it means to us as humanity. We might have all these options, all these choices, but if people are not feeling good enough to access those services and continue on them, we are not going to win on prevention.
When you're talking about choice, for me, choice is power as a sex worker. And when I was invited to this panel, I reflected back from when I started doing sex work. That time we only used to have condoms. So there was no choice. So you had to use a condom. And one of the things that we face as sex workers is harassment from clients. And most of the clients will refuse to use a condom. And even condom negotiation, sometimes to most of us sex workers, because of the way we do our work. Somebody will tell you, I'll give you more money and don't use a condom. So condom negotiation skills sometimes becomes very difficult. But for us sex workers, most of us will not agree. But when we are talking about choice, I'm very excited as a sex worker because for me it's power. It's power to me. I'll go get my injection, I'll go have my prep at home, and then I go do my work. And I know I'm very well I'm protected. So for me as a sex worker, when we are talking about choice, is power to me as a sex worker. I'm able to walk in majestically to that clinic with the information that I need, and I tell my healthcare provider, I know there's an injection, I know there's oral prep, I know there's a condom, but I want an injection. And I want an injection because it's powerful to me. When I have my injection for 6 months or for 2 months, I'm very, very comfortable that I have prevented myself from HIV. So if I want to prevent myself from pregnancy, I'll be able to negotiate with my clients to use a condom. So when you're talking about choice as a sex worker, to me, is the power that I have as a sex worker. Knowing that I have that product in my body and I can walk majestically, I can do my work with a lot of confidence and knowing that I have prevented myself from getting HIV. For me, is the power. Yes.
Let us use even the newer prevention technologies like lenacapavir to revolutionize the entire prevention movement. Lenacapavir will only be 100% effective if people choose lenacapavir. I might want to be on the oral prep, somebody else might want to be on a condom, somebody else might want to choose another method. And people will only remain on it if they find it acceptable and accessible and aligned to their particular lifestyle. So we are only going to take away the issue of choice when, for instance, we don't integrate HIV prevention into general services. Then we are going to have limitations of choice. And if choice is about accessing services without fear, if choice is about choosing where you obtain care and even who provides the care, and if choice is about making sure it fits in with your lifestyle and choosing when to remain in care, we are really going to have to bridge the gap between innovation and impact and respecting the agency of the particular patient. So how we move forward and how we introduce integration. And for me, I think as a NAC CEO, when I define HIV prevention intervention, it's really starting to force us to think just beyond HIV. Our patients living with HIV are aging. They are starting to develop non-communicable diseases. This means every contact with a client at a health facility, at a community facility, even on a digital platform, needs to give them access to prevention, but also prevention from disease progression of other diseases, like hypertension and diabetes. And if we don't think of prevention in the broader sense and seeing our patients holistically, we are going to limit choice. Thank you, Jerome.
We cannot talk about choice but not thinking about how tangibly choice gets accessed. So the starting point is, do communities know what products are available? Because oftentimes we talk about this when communities do not know. There are moments we go into a community and say, have you ever heard about the capivin ring? And they know nothing about it. So the starting point is investments we make in communities to make sure that this information is out there. We are communicating about products. People know what HIV prevention options are available. Because when they know this information, they will be able to go at facility level and ask for the service. So we cannot talk about demand generation if we do not address this. And just to mention, to say, I think with everything we've seen in this year, this is one of the most impacted field in terms of community services and information. Because when we're thinking about what to prioritize, community services get laid behind. So we need to think about how do we kind of double down on some of the information provision, demand creation, and all this information I'm talking about. Secondly, one of the other non-negotiable is the information that providers now provide at facility level. We might have these services, but if people walk in and are not being given choice-based counseling, we are not winning. So we do need to start thinking about this from more like a 360 degrees approach. You have the community, you have the health system. How is the health system itself prepared to deliver choice? Are we training our healthcare workers enough? Is the provider communicating about choice? Are we able to provide resources for these options we're talking about? So when we're talking about global fund, we're talking about domestic resources. Are we already thinking about how willing our governments able to invest in choice? So a lot of negotiables, but I think we need to be thinking about this holistically from both the health system, but also the individual.
How do we start as the entry point of LAN? What are we telling people? Are we telling people that the LAN is better because it's going for 6? It's because it's an injection that is taking long, and we are not talking about other HIV prevention technologies that we've been using. So for me, is what is the entry? What is the information that we are telling people as we are introducing the new HIV prevention tools, so that we make sure that people understand about all the other HIV prevention tools, and they understand. Also, another non-negotiable is resources to communities. So a lot of what we are talking about, these HIV prevention tools being used by communities, but where are we leaving these communities? The conversation is there, but where is the community? Are there resources for community, so that we as community are able to talk to our fellow communities about the new HIV prevention technology? Because one of the things I have realized from the community I come from is most of the sex workers have no information about the long-acting. Most of our communities just hear in conferences, but when you ask us in details, what does it mean? Most of us have no information. The next time you'll hear that the government has introduced an injection, and they're asking sex workers to mobilize to go get the injection, but you don't have the information. So resources to communities, so that we can be able to mobilize our community, know the right information, mobilize our communities, and communities can be able to make the choice of what the community can be able to make informed choice. And maybe the other non-negotiable is affordability of these products and accessibility of these products.
What young people need is mindset change. We have been doing different activities around in the community to ensure that young people access these services, but a lot of myths and misconceptions around HIV prevention is really high. Even when products are there, young people still have the myths and misconceptions around the ring will get lost in my body. When I take the injection, I will not give birth. It will affect my entire system. So if we change the minds of young people to accept the HIV prevention services, to accept them, taking them, it will really yield. Another thing is access. In Uganda today, a few facilities are offering DVR, the prevent vaginal ring, but a young person in a different region might not travel to Kampala, to the main city, to access the ring.
What are the pros and cons? What are the benefits? What does it cost? How accessible is it? What will be the side effects? And let us as communities make the choice.
Let's make HIV prevention and choice fashionable.
Thank you, Chair Gandhi.
You've had the questions. Make more partnerships with other communities, including with adolescent girls and young women and young people. Join me to thank our panelists, but also our chairperson. And as I conclude, people make choices. Today is Chirai's birthday, but he has made the choice to be with us. So let's give him a happy birthday.
Happy birthday.